German Shepherd collapsed in front of the house. What this human baby did next left everyone in tears. The wind howled like a wounded animal, bending trees and rattling windows across the neighborhood. Dark clouds rolled over the evening sky, blocking out the last rays of sunlight. Thunder rumbled in the distance, a warning of the storm about to break. Inside their cozy two-story home, Elena and Marcus Turner moved about their kitchen in a familiar dance, preparing dinner while their 5-year-old son, Aiden, played nearby. Elena glanced at the kitchen window, watching raindrops begin to splash against the glass. "Looks like we're in for a bad one tonight," she said, chopping vegetables for the salad. Marcus nodded as he checked the oven. "The weather app says it'll get worse before midnight. Good thing we're all inside." In the living room, Aiden sat cross-legged on the carpet, lining up his toy cars in perfect rows. His small fingers carefully positioned each vehicle, his face scrunched in concentration. The sound of his own voice making engine noises filled the room as he pushed a red fire truck along an imaginary road. A flash of lightning illuminated the room, followed by a loud crack of thunder that made Elena jump. The lights flickered once, twice, but stayed on. "Aiden, sweetie, dinner will be ready soon," Elena called out, wiping her hands on a kitchen towel. But Aiden didn't respond. He had suddenly gone very still, his toy car frozen mid-journey. His eyes were fixed on the front window, his head tilted slightly as if listening for something. "Aiden?" Elena tried again, noticing the change in her son's demeanor. Slowly, Aiden stood up, abandoning his cars. He walked to the window and pressed his small palm against the glass. "Mom," he said, his voice unusually quiet, "there's something outside." Elena exchanged a look with Marcus before making her way to her son. "What is it, honey? Did you see a raccoon again?" Aiden shook his head, still staring outside. "It's big." A scratching sound came from the front door, faint at first, then more insistent. It wasn't the wind or branches scraping against the house. It was deliberate, almost desperate. Marcus set down the oven mitts and approached the door cautiously. "Probably just a branch that fell against the door," he said, though his tone betrayed his uncertainty. The scratching came again, followed by a soft whine. "Dad, open it," Aiden urged, tugging at his father's shirt. "Someone needs help." Marcus hesitated, then reached for the doorknob. "Stand back, both of you," he instructed before slowly pulling the door open. The wind rushed in immediately, bringing with it a spray of cold rain. But it wasn't the weather that made Elena gasp. There, slumped over their doorstep, was a massive German Shepherd. Its dark fur was matted with mud and rain, clinging to a frame that was much too thin. One of its sides bore an angry red wound, partially crusted with dried blood. The dog's chest heaved with labored breaths, each one seeming more difficult than the last. It lifted its head just slightly, amber eyes meeting Marcus's with a look that was unmistakable. A plea for help. Elena instinctively reached for Aiden, pulling him back. "Marcus," she whispered, her voice tight with worry. "Be careful." The German Shepherd made no move to get up or approach them. It simply lay there, defeated and exhausted, its eyes never leaving Marcus's face. "Dad, he's hurt," Aiden said, his small voice filled with concern. He tried to wiggle out of his mother's grasp. "Aiden, stay back," Elena warned, tightening her hold. "We don't know this dog. It could be dangerous." But Aiden looked up at her with eyes that seemed wiser than his 5 years. "Mom," he said simply, "he needs help." Marcus knelt down slowly, keeping a safe distance from the injured animal. The dog watched him but made no aggressive moves, no growling, no baring of teeth. Instead, it let out another soft whine, almost like a sigh. "He has a collar," Marcus observed, leaning slightly closer. "Let me see if there's a tag." The dog didn't resist as Marcus carefully reached for the worn leather collar around its neck. A small metal tag dangled from it. "Rex," Marcus read aloud. "That's his name, but the rest of the information is worn away." He squinted at the tag, trying to make out an address or phone number, but the metal was too scratched and faded. Rainwater began to pool around the dog, mixing with small spots of fresh blood from his wound. Rex shivered, his eyes starting to droop with exhaustion. "We can't just leave him out here," Aiden pleaded, his lower lip trembling. "He'll die, Daddy." Elena felt fear tightening her chest. Taking in a strange, injured dog was risky. especially with a young child in the house. What if it had rabies? What if it turned aggressive once it regained its strength? But looking at Rex, so clearly beaten down by whatever hardship had brought him to their doorstep, she felt something else too. Compassion. "Marcus," she began, uncertainty clear in her voice. Marcus looked at the storm raging outside, then back at the dog. He sighed deeply. "We can't leave him out in this rain. He's in bad shape." "Are you sure this is safe?" Elena asked, still keeping Aiden behind her. "No," Marcus admitted, "but I don't think we have a choice. Look at him, Elena. He's not going to make it through the night without help." Thunder cracked overhead, making Rex flinch. His eyes, though tired, somehow found Aiden's, and for a moment, something passed between them, an understanding that neither Elena nor Marcus could fully grasp. Aiden spoke with a conviction that surprised both his parents. "He chose our house, Mom. He knew we would help him." Elena hesitated, looking from her son to the dog and back again. There was something strange about the way Aiden seemed so certain, so unafraid. "All right," she finally conceded, "but we need to be careful, and we'll call the vet first thing in the morning." Marcus nodded, then carefully slid his arms under the large dog. "Easy, buddy. We're going to help you." Rex whimpered as Marcus lifted him, but didn't struggle. His body felt lighter than it should for a dog his size, further evidence of how long he must have been without proper care. As Marcus carried Rex inside, Aiden ran ahead to the living room. "Put him on my blanket, Dad!" "I'll get water." Elena watched her son sprint to the kitchen for a bowl of water, his earlier play forgotten. There was no fear in him, only determination to help the injured animal. It was as if he had been waiting for this moment, though of course that was impossible. Marcus gently laid Rex on Aiden's favorite blue blanket that usually stayed draped over the couch. The dog's breathing was shallow, his eyes half closed with exhaustion. "He's burning up," Marcus said, placing a hand on Rex's head. "And this wound looks infected. I'm not sure he'll make it until morning without antibiotics." Aiden returned with a bowl of water, carefully walking to avoid spilling. He set it down near Rex's head and, before either parent could stop him, knelt beside the dog. "Aiden, be careful," Elena warned, her heart in her throat. But Aiden simply placed his small hand on Rex's head and stroked it gently. "It's okay, Rex. You're safe now." To everyone's shock, Rex's tail thumped once against the blanket. The dog stretched his neck just enough to lick Aiden's fingers, a gesture of trust that brought tears to Elena's eyes. "How did you know his name?" Marcus asked, surprised. "I only just read it from his tag." Aiden shrugged, continuing to pet the dog. "He told me." Elena and Marcus exchanged concerned glances. There was something odd about this entire situation, about the way Rex had appeared at their doorstep in the middle of a storm, about the immediate bond between their son and this strange dog. "I'm calling Dr. Patel," Marcus said, pulling out his phone. "He might know an emergency vet service." As Marcus made the call, Elena watched her son sit cross-legged beside Rex, speaking to him in soft, reassuring tones. She couldn't make out the words, but the gentleness in Aiden's voice was clear. Rex's eyes remained fixed on the boy, as if he understood every word. "Weird," Marcus said, hanging up the phone. "Dr. Patel isn't answering, and the emergency vet service can't get anyone out until morning because of the storm." "What do we do until then?" Elena asked, worry creasing her brow. "Clean his wound as best we can and keep him warm and hydrated," Marcus replied. "That's all we can do for now." While Marcus gathered first aid supplies, Elena knelt beside her son. "Aiden, honey, we need to step back while Daddy helps Rex." But Aiden shook his head firmly. "I need to stay. He's scared, Mom." Elena started to insist, then stopped. There was something in her son's determination that gave her pause. The dog hadn't shown any aggression, and Aiden's presence seemed to calm him. Still, she stayed close, ready to pull her son away at the first sign of trouble. Marcus returned with a bowl of warm water, clean towels, and the first aid kit. He carefully began cleaning the mud from Rex's fur, revealing more of the wound on his side. It was a clean cut, about 4 inches long. "This doesn't look like he was attacked by another animal," Marcus said quietly. "It's too straight, too clean." "What are you saying?" Elena asked, though she already knew the answer. "I think someone might have hurt him deliberately," Marcus replied, his voice tight with anger. This looks like a knife wound. Aiden's eyes widened. Who would hurt Rex? He asked, his voice small. Some people are just cruel, buddy, Marcus said, carefully dabbing antiseptic on the wound. Rex winced but remained still. But he's safe with us now. As Marcus worked, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Rex's story than a simple case of animal cruelty. The way he had collapsed specifically on their doorstep, the immediate connection with Aiden, it all felt significant somehow, like fate. There, Marcus said, finishing with a clean bandage. That should help until the vet can see him tomorrow. Rex's eyes were closed now, his breathing still labored but steadier than before. Exhaustion had finally overcome him. Aiden, it's time for dinner, Elena said gently. I'm not hungry, Aiden replied, still stroking Rex's head. I want to stay with him. Elena was about to insist when she saw the fierce protectiveness in her son's eyes. It was a look she had never seen before, a maturity beyond his years. All right, she conceded. I'll bring your dinner here, but just for tonight. As Elena went to the kitchen, Marcus pulled her aside. There's something odd about all this, he whispered. The way Aiden is with him? Elena nodded. I know. It's like they already know each other. They both looked back at their son, who was now singing a soft lullaby to the sleeping dog, the same lullaby Elena sang to Aiden when he was afraid during thunderstorms. Outside, the storm raged on, but inside, a strange peace had settled over the Turner home, a peace centered around a boy and a dog who, against all odds, had found each other in the middle of a storm. And as the night grew darker, none of them could have guessed the secrets that Rex carried with him, secrets that would soon change their lives forever. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from. The night crawled slowly, marked by the steady tick of the grandfather clock in the hallway. Elena checked on Aiden and Rex every hour, her maternal worry extending now to the injured dog. Each time she peeked into the living room, she found the same scene. Aiden curled up against Rex's large body, both of them breathing in unison. Around midnight, Elena stood in the doorway, watching them sleep. Marcus joined her, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. He refused to go to his bed, Elena whispered. I've never seen him so stubborn. Marcus nodded. There's something about that dog, the way he looks at Aiden. I know, Elena replied. It's like he knows him. She paused, feeling that strange sense of familiarity wash over her again. Marcus, does Rex look familiar to you? Marcus studied the sleeping dog. No, I don't think so. Why? Elena shook her head, unable to place the nagging feeling. I don't know. It's just, I feel like I've seen him before. As they turned to go back to their bedroom, a flash of lightning illuminated the living room. In that brief moment, Elena caught sight of Rex's eyes, open, alert, watching them. There was intelligence in that gaze, a knowing that made her shiver. Did you see that? She whispered. See what? Nothing, Elena said. Just the storm playing tricks. But as they walked away, she couldn't shake the feeling that Rex wasn't just a stray dog who happened upon their doorstep. There was purpose in those eyes, purpose and memory. Morning came with gentle sunlight, replacing the night's storm. Elena woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of Aiden's laughter, a sound she hadn't heard in days. She followed it to the living room, where she found her son sitting cross-legged beside Rex, telling him an elaborate story about dragons. Rex looked better than he had the night before. His eyes were clearer, more alert, and though he still lay on the blanket, his posture was less strained. The bandage on his side showed spots of fresh blood, but smaller than Elena had feared. He's doing better, Marcus said, handing her a mug of coffee. His fever broke sometime in the night. That's good, Elena said, watching Aiden stroke Rex's ears with gentle fingers. The vet called. He can fit us in at 11, Marcus added. Aiden looked up, his face suddenly serious. Rex doesn't want to go to the vet. Elena knelt beside her son. Honey, he has to. He's hurt and needs medicine. He's scared they'll take him away, Aiden insisted. Elena and Marcus exchanged concerned glances. Aiden, did you have a bad dream? Marcus asked. Aiden shook his head, his small face set in stubborn lines. Rex told me. Before Elena could question this strange statement, she was struck by a sudden memory. Wait, she said, straightening up. I think I know where I've seen Rex before. Both Marcus and Aiden turned to her with matching expressions of curiosity. During my morning jogs by the woods, Elena continued, the memory becoming clearer. There was a German shepherd that would watch me from a distance. Every morning, same spot, never approaching. I thought it was just a stray. That was Rex, Aiden said with complete confidence. He was watching you. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. How could Aiden know that? And why would a stray dog watch her so consistently? That's about a mile from here, Marcus said thoughtfully. If it was Rex, why would he come all this way, injured as he is? Elena didn't have an answer, but looking at Rex now, those intelligent eyes fixed on her, she felt certain it was the same dog. Maybe he wasn't a stray at all, she mused aloud. Maybe he belonged to someone nearby. He belonged to the sad man, Aiden said, his voice soft but clear. Both parents stared at their son. What sad man, Aiden? Marcus asked, kneeling to his level. The old man by the woods, the one in the White House. Aiden continued petting Rex, seemingly unaware of his parents' stunned expressions. Elena's hand flew to her mouth. The Walker place, she whispered to Marcus. He must mean old Henry Walker's house. Henry Walker was well known in their small town, a Vietnam veteran who lived alone in a small white house at the edge of the woods. Elena had seen him occasionally during her jogs, a stooped figure sitting on his front porch, staring into the distance. They had never spoken beyond a polite nod. How do you know about Mr. Walker, Aiden? Elena asked carefully. They had never taken Aiden to that part of town. Aiden shrugged, that peculiar wisdom in his eyes again. Rex showed me. Marcus ran a hand through his hair, clearly unsettled. Elena, this is getting weird. Elena couldn't disagree. There was something happening here that she couldn't explain. A connection between her son and this dog that defied logic. Let's get Rex to the vet, she said firmly. Maybe they can scan for a microchip, find out who he really belongs to. As Marcus went to get the car ready, Elena helped Aiden get dressed. The boy was unusually quiet, his normal morning chatter replaced by a solemn focus. Aiden, Elena ventured, helping him pull on his shirt. How do you know Rex was watching me in the woods? Aiden looked at her with those disconcertingly serious eyes. He told me. He was protecting you. Protecting me from what? From the bad man, Aiden said simply, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. Elena felt her heart skip a beat. What bad man, Aiden? But Aiden had already run back to Rex, leaving Elena with a growing sense of unease. Getting Rex into the car was a challenge. Despite his weakened state, the dog was massive, and Marcus struggled to lift him. Surprisingly, Rex didn't resist. He seemed to understand they were trying to help him. At the veterinary clinic, Dr. Roberts examined Rex thoroughly, her experienced hands gentle but firm. This is definitely a knife wound, she confirmed, cleaning the cut with antiseptic. And it's recent, no more than 24 hours old. Who would do something like that? Elena asked, keeping a protective arm around Aiden. Dr. Roberts shook her head. Unfortunately, animal cruelty isn't as rare as we'd like to think. She continued her examination, checking Rex's teeth, ears, and overall condition. He's malnourished and dehydrated, but surprisingly healthy otherwise. Good muscle tone despite the weight loss. I'd say he hasn't been astray for very long. Can you check for a microchip? Marcus asked. Dr. Roberts nodded, running a scanner over Rex's shoulder blades and neck. After a moment, she frowned. That's odd. There's a chip, but it's not registering properly. She tried again, with the same result. The chip might be damaged or very old. I'll need to send the code to our database and see if we can trace it. As they waited for the scan results, Rex kept his eyes fixed on Aiden, who sat beside him on the examination table, one small hand resting protectively on the dog's head. I've never seen a child bond so quickly with an injured animal, Dr. Roberts commented, watching them. Usually there's fear on both sides. They've been inseparable since we found him, Elena said, unable to fully explain the connection she had witnessed. Dr. Roberts smiled. Animals can sense goodness in people, especially children. Their souls are simpler, more honest. She checked her computer screen and frowned again. That's strange. The chip is registered to Henry Walker. Elena's breath caught. Henry Walker from Pine Street? The old veteran? Dr. Roberts nodded, her expression softening. Yes, poor man. Did you know him? Not well, Elena admitted. I'd see him during my morning runs sometimes. Well, this explains why the chip wasn't scanning properly, Dr. Roberts said. It's at least 10 years old, one of the first-generation models. Mr. Walker got Rex as a therapy dog after his wife passed away. Marcus leaned forward, confused. Wait, you're speaking about him in past tense. Dr. Roberts looked surprised. Oh, you hadn't heard? Henry passed away about 4 months ago. Heart attack, they think. He was found in his garden. The information hit Elena like a physical blow. Henry Walker had been dead for months. If Rex had been his dog, where had he been all this time? But that doesn't make sense, Marcus said, echoing Elena's thoughts. If Mr. Walker died 4 months ago, where has Rex been? Dr. Roberts shrugged. That's the mystery, isn't it? Dogs are incredibly loyal. Sometimes, when they lose an owner, they stay near the home, waiting for them to return. Waiting, Elena whispered, remembering the German shepherd watching her from the woods. Rex had been waiting all this time, guarding the last place he had seen his owner. He was waiting for the sad man to come back, Aiden said softly, confirming Elena's suspicion in his uncanny way. But the sad man isn't coming back, so Rex came to find a new family. Dr. Roberts smiled at the boy, though Elena could see the sadness in her eyes. That might well be true, young man. Dogs know when it's time to move on. After bandaging Rex's wound and providing antibiotics, Dr. Roberts explained that they had 2 options. They could take Rex to the local animal shelter, or they could foster him until a permanent home was found. Before either Elena or Marcus could respond, Aiden spoke up. Rex is staying with us. He chose us. His voice held a finality that brooked no argument. Elena looked at Marcus, seeing her own conflicted feelings reflected in his eyes. Taking in a dog, especially one as large as Rex, was a big responsibility. But the way Rex had come to them, the immediate bond with Aiden, the strange coincidence of him having belonged to a man Elena saw nearly every day on her runs. It all felt significant somehow. We can foster him, Elena heard herself say, just until he's healed and we can find him a good home. The relief on Aiden's face was immediate, but there was something else there too, a knowing look, as if he understood this was just the first step in a journey already mapped out. The drive home was quiet, each of them lost in thought. Rex lay across the back seat, his head in Aiden's lap, his eyes drifting closed under the boy's gentle petting. What do you think happened to him? Marcus asked softly, glancing at Elena. After Mr. Walker died, I mean. Why would he suddenly leave the house after 4 months? Elena shook her head. I don't know, unless ... a troubling thought occurred to her. Unless something scared him away. You mean like the person who stabbed him? Elena nodded, a chill running through her despite the warm car. What if someone came to the Walker place? Maybe a squatter or a burglar. Rex might have tried to defend his territory. And got hurt in the process, Marcus finished, his hands tightening on the steering wheel, then ran to the nearest place he felt safe. Our house, Elena said, the pieces falling into place. But why us? Why not any of the other houses in the neighborhood? They both glanced back at Aiden, who had fallen asleep, his arm protectively draped over Rex's neck. Maybe it wasn't random, Marcus suggested. You said you saw him during your jogs. Maybe he recognized your scent. It was a reasonable explanation, yet Elena couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to it, that Rex had chosen their home for a specific reason. As they pulled into their driveway, Elena noticed something that made her heart skip a beat. A police car was parked across the street, and Officer Taylor was walking toward their house, his expression serious. Marcus, she said, pointing. Marcus saw the officer and frowned. Stay in the car with Aiden and Rex. I'll see what he wants. Elena watched as Marcus got out and met Officer Taylor at the edge of their property. They spoke briefly, their conversation too far away for her to hear. After a moment, Taylor handed Marcus something, a piece of paper, and pointed toward their backyard. When Marcus returned to the car, his face was grim. What is it? Elena asked, anxiety building in her chest. Someone reported a break-in attempt at the Petersons' house last night, Marcus said, his voice low to avoid waking Aiden. Officer Taylor is checking with everyone on the street. Did they catch who did it? Marcus shook his head. No, but He hesitated, glancing back at the sleeping dog. Taylor said they found blood on the Petersons' back fence. Not much, but enough to suggest the intruder was injured. Elena's eyes widened as she connected the dots. "You don't think—" "I don't know what to think," Marcus admitted. "But the timing is suspicious. Rex shows up injured around the same time someone tried to break into a house 3 doors down." They both looked at Rex, this mysterious dog who had appeared during a storm, bearing a knife wound and secrets neither of them fully understood. "What are we going to do?" Elena whispered. Before Marcus could answer, Aiden stirred, his eyes fluttering open. He looked at his parents, then down at Rex with a smile of pure affection. "Rex saved us," he said simply, still half asleep. The bad man was coming, but Rex scared him away. Elena felt a cold shiver run down her spine at her son's words. How could he possibly know about an attempted break-in that had happened while he was asleep? And why did he think Rex had scared the intruder away? Unless Rex hadn't been running from danger when he collapsed on their porch. Maybe he had been running toward it, toward a threat only he could sense. As if confirming her thoughts, Rex raised his head slightly, his amber eyes meeting Elena's with that same intelligent, knowing gaze. In that moment, she was certain of one thing. Rex had come to their home for a reason. And until they understood what that reason was, he wasn't going anywhere. "Let's get inside," Marcus said, breaking the tense silence. "Whatever's going on, we'll figure it out together." As they helped Rex out of the car, Elena couldn't shake a growing sense that their lives had changed forever the moment the German Shepherd had collapsed on their doorstep. There were mysteries here, dangerous ones, and somehow Rex was at the center of them all. What none of them noticed was the dark sedan parked at the far end of the street, its windows tinted, its driver watching their every move with cold, calculating eyes. The next few days fell into an unexpected routine. Rex's wound began to heal, his appetite returned, and his eyes grew brighter. The change in Aiden was equally remarkable. Always a quiet child, he now chattered constantly, to Rex, to his parents, to himself. It was as if the German Shepherd had unlocked something in the boy, a confidence that had been dormant until now. "He's a different kid," Marcus whispered to Elena one evening as they watched Aiden reading a picture book to Rex, who lay beside him, with his head resting on his paws, eyes never leaving the boy's face. Elena nodded, still unable to fully explain the bond between them. "It's like they were meant to find each other." Dr. Roberts called twice to check on Rex's progress and gently inquire if they had made a decision about his future. Each time, Elena gave the same answer. "We're still fostering him for now." But they all knew the truth. Rex had become part of their family. His water bowl had a permanent place in the kitchen. His leash hung by the front door. Aiden had even convinced them to buy a proper dog bed, though Rex rarely used it, preferring to sleep beside Aiden's bed on the floor. On the 5th night, Elena woke suddenly, her heart racing. The red numbers on her bedside clock read 2:17 a.m. She lay still, trying to identify what had disturbed her sleep. The house was quiet except for Marcus's steady breathing beside her and the gentle hum of the air conditioner. She was about to close her eyes again when she heard it, the soft pad of feet in the hallway. Aiden going to the bathroom, she thought at first, but the footsteps were too quiet, too measured. Slipping out of bed, Elena moved to the bedroom door and opened it a crack. The hallway was dark, but she could make out a small figure standing at the window at the end of the corridor. Aiden, his Batman pajamas glowing faintly in the moonlight. "Aiden," she whispered, stepping into the hall. "What are you doing up, sweetie?" Aiden didn't turn around. He remained fixed at the window, one hand pressed against the glass. "Mom," he said, his voice eerily calm. "Someone's outside." A chill ran down Elena's spine. She quickly moved to Aiden's side and peered out the window. The backyard was bathed in silver moonlight, the trees casting long shadows across the lawn. At first she saw nothing unusual. Then a shadow moved, a figure near the back fence, darker than the surrounding darkness. Elena's breath caught in her throat. She pulled Aiden away from the window and whispered, "Go wake Dad," quickly but quietly. As Aiden scurried off, Elena heard a low growl from behind her. Rex stood at the top of the stairs, his hackles raised, teeth bared in a silent snarl. His eyes were fixed on the window, his whole body tense with alertness. Marcus appeared a moment later, sleep-tousled, but instantly alert when Elena pointed out the window. "Call 911, he said, already moving toward the stairs. "Marcus, wait!" Elena hissed, grabbing his arm. "What are you doing?" "I'm not letting some creep case our house," Marcus said, his jaw set. "The police will take too long." "Then take Rex with you," Aiden said from the doorway of his room. "He'll protect you." At the sound of his name, Rex turned to look at the boy. Something passed between them, that strange, wordless communication that Elena had witnessed from the first day. "He's injured, Aiden," Elena started to say, but Rex was already moving, padding silently down the stairs ahead of Marcus. His wound had healed considerably in the past few days, but she still worried about him straining himself. "Stay inside with Aiden," Marcus instructed, following Rex. "Lock the doors behind me." Elena wanted to argue, but the determined set of her husband's shoulders told her it would be futile. Instead, she pulled Aiden close and hurried downstairs to secure the house. From the kitchen window, she watched as Marcus stepped onto the back porch, flashlight in hand. Rex moved ahead of him, his posture alert but controlled. There was something almost military about the way the dog positioned himself, protective, methodical. The beam of Marcus's flashlight swept across the yard, illuminating empty spaces between trees and bushes. For a moment, Elena thought they had imagined the figure, a trick of moonlight and shadows. Then Rex froze, his attention locked on the far corner of the yard where the fence met the neighbor's property. He growled, a deep rumble that Elena could hear even through the closed window. Marcus directed his flashlight toward the spot. The beam caught movement, a dark shape vaulting over the fence, disappearing into the night. "Marcus!" Elena called, opening the back door. "Did you see him?" Marcus jogged back to the house, Rex at his heels. "Yeah, someone was definitely there. Took off when we spotted him." "I'm calling the police," Elena said, reaching for her phone. Rex pushed past them, racing up the stairs with surprising speed for an injured animal. They followed, finding him in Aiden's room, positioned protectively beside the boy's bed. "He's making sure I'm safe," Aiden said, patting Rex's head. While they waited for the police, Elena couldn't shake a troubling thought. "This is the second time someone's been lurking around our neighborhood in less than a week," she said to Marcus. "What if it's not random? You think someone's targeting our house specifically?" Marcus asked, keeping his voice low so Aiden wouldn't hear. Elena glanced at Rex, who hadn't left Aiden's side. "I think someone might be looking for Rex." The police arrived 20 minutes later, Officer Taylor again, accompanied by a younger officer Elena didn't recognize. They searched the yard thoroughly but found nothing except a partial footprint in the soft earth beneath the kitchen window. "Could be the same person who tried to break into the Petersons' place," Officer Taylor said, jotting notes in his small pad. "But they didn't actually attempt entry here, more like they were watching." "Surveillance before a break-in?" Marcus suggested. Taylor nodded. "Possibly. We'll have patrols drive by more frequently for the next few days." He glanced at Rex, who had finally left Aiden's side to investigate the officers. "That's a fine-looking dog. New addition to the family?" "We're fostering him," Elena explained. "He was injured and showed up at our door during the storm last week." "German Shepherd, right?" the younger officer asked, letting Rex sniff his hand. "My brother trains them for police work, smart as hell, and loyal to a fault." Officer Taylor's radio crackled with a dispatch call. He excused himself to respond, leaving Elena with an uneasy feeling. Something about this whole situation felt wrong. The attempted break-in, the figure in their yard, the timing of Rex's appearance. "We should get an alarm system," Marcus said after the police left, "and maybe some cameras." Elena agreed, but she doubted electronic security would ease the knot of dread forming in her stomach. Rex had appeared for a reason, and until they understood what that reason was, she suspected these strange incidents would continue. The next morning brought rain again, a gentle patter against the windows that matched Elena's somber mood. She had barely slept after the police left, lying awake and listening for any unusual sounds outside. Aiden, however, seemed completely unaffected by the night's events. He ate his breakfast cheerfully, talking to Rex between bites of cereal. "Aiden," Elena ventured, sitting across from him at the table. "How did you know someone was outside last night?" Aiden shrugged, spooning another bite of cereal into his mouth. "Rex told me." Elena exchanged a look with Marcus. "You mean Rex woke you up?" "No," Aiden said, as if explaining something obvious. "He told me in my dream. He said someone bad was looking for him, and we needed to be careful. Marcus set down his coffee mug. Buddy, dogs can't talk to people in dreams. Aiden gave his father a surprisingly patient look. Rex can. He's special. Before either parent could respond, the doorbell rang. Marcus went to answer it, returning a moment later with Dr. Roberts. Sorry to drop by unannounced, she said, smiling apologetically. I was on my way to the clinic and wanted to check on our patient. Rex, who had been lying at Aiden's feet, stood to greet the veterinarian, his tail wagging gently. He looks so much better, Dr. Roberts observed, kneeling to examine him. You've done a wonderful job with him. He's been eating well and getting plenty of rest, Elena said. The wound is healing nicely. Dr. Roberts carefully pulled back the bandage on Rex's side. Yes, much better than I expected. He's a resilient boy. She hesitated, then added, Actually, there's another reason I stopped by. I did some digging about Henry Walker and Rex. Elena felt her interest spike. What did you find? Henry got Rex from a specialized training program for veterans with PTSD, Dr. Roberts explained. These aren't ordinary therapy dogs. They're trained to alert to anxiety attacks, nightmares, even changes in breathing that might indicate distress. So he's not just a pet, Marcus said. He's a service dog. Dr. Roberts nodded. An exceptionally well-trained one. These dogs cost thousands of dollars and undergo years of training. They're capable of things that seem almost supernatural to those who don't understand their training. Elena thought of Aiden's insistence that Rex told him things. Could the boy be picking up on some subtle form of communication the dog had been trained to use? There's more, Doctor, Roberts continued. After Henry died, his house was supposed to go to his nephew, a man named Victor Walker. But there was some kind of dispute about the will. Victor claimed Henry promised him everything, including the property, but the actual will left the house to a veteran support organization. What happened with the dispute? Marcus asked. I'm not sure, Doctor, Roberts admitted. I just know Victor was furious about it, made quite a scene at the funeral, according to my receptionist who attended. Elena felt pieces clicking into place. This Victor? What does he look like? I've never met him personally, Dr. Roberts said, but my receptionist described him as tall, thin, dark hair, not very friendly. A chill ran through Elena. The figure she'd glimpsed in their yard had been tall and thin. Why would Victor be interested in Rex, though? Marcus asked, voicing Elena's thoughts. Dr. Roberts stood up, scratching Rex behind the ears. That I don't know, but a dog like this is valuable, and if he was living at Henry's house all this time... Maybe Victor thinks Rex knows something, Elena said suddenly, about the house or the will or Henry's belongings. That's ridiculous, Marcus started to say, but stopped when he saw Aiden nodding solemnly. Rex was protecting the sad man's treasure, Aiden said, his voice soft but clear. All three adults turned to look at the boy. What treasure, sweetie? Elena asked, kneeling beside him. Aiden leaned against Rex, his small hand buried in the dog's fur. The sad man hid something important. Rex was guarding it, but the bad man came with a knife, so Rex had to run away. Elena felt goosebumps rise on her arms. Aiden, how do you know this? Rex showed me, Aiden said simply. In my dreams. Dr. Roberts looked from Aiden to Rex with professional interest. Children are often more attuned to animals than adults are, she said cautiously. And a dog as well trained as Rex might have ways of communicating that we don't fully understand. Are you suggesting Rex is actually telling Aiden things? Marcus asked, skepticism clear in his voice. Not in words, Doctor, Roberts clarified, but possibly through behavior, body language, even scent cues that Aiden is interpreting. Elena wasn't entirely convinced, but she couldn't deny the uncanny accuracy of Aiden's knowledge about Rex. First, the connection to Henry Walker. Now this talk of treasure and a man with a knife. We need to be careful, she said to Marcus after Dr. Roberts left. If this Victor person is looking for Rex, and he's behind the break-in attempts, I'll call Officer Taylor, Marcus agreed. Let him know about the possible connection. That night, they double-checked every lock, turned on all the outside lights, and set up an improvised alarm system using a row of empty cans along the windowsills. It wasn't sophisticated, but it would make noise if anyone tried to get in. Despite these precautions, Elena found it impossible to sleep. Around midnight, she went downstairs for a glass of water, pausing at Aiden's room to check on him. The door was ajar, the nightlight casting a soft glow over an empty bed. "Aiden!" Elena called, trying to keep the panic from her voice. She hurried into the room, heart pounding, then stopped, relief washing over her. Aiden was there, asleep on the floor beside Rex's bed, his small body curled against the dog's larger one. Rex lifted his head as Elena entered, those intelligent eyes watching her calmly. "You're protecting him, aren't you?" Elena whispered. Rex's ears perked forward at her words. He didn't move from his position beside Aiden, but his tail thumped once against the carpet, an acknowledgement. Elena knelt beside them, reaching out to stroke Rex's head. "What are you trying to tell us, boy? What happened at Henry's house?" For a long moment, Rex simply looked at her, his gaze steady and knowing. Then, slowly, he rose to his feet, careful not to disturb Aiden. He padded to the bedroom door and looked back at Elena expectantly. "You want me to follow you?" she asked, surprised. Rex walked into the hallway, then waited, glancing back at her again. Curious and slightly nervous, Elena followed him downstairs. Rex led her to the front window, where he placed his paws on the sill and looked out, a low growl building in his throat. Elena peered out into the darkness, but saw nothing unusual. "What is it, Rex?" The dog dropped back to all fours and trotted to the back door, his nails clicking softly on the hardwood floor. He stood there, looking from Elena to the door and back again, clearly wanting to go outside. "I can't let you out, boy," Elena said. "It's not safe." Rex whined softly, his frustration evident. He returned to the living room and picked up his leash from the coffee table, bringing it to Elena. The message was unmistakable. "Take me outside." Now Elena hesitated, torn between curiosity and caution. Something was happening, something important enough for Rex to leave Aiden's side. "Wait here," she whispered, hurrying upstairs to wake Marcus. Together, they returned to find Rex waiting patiently by the door, the leash still in his mouth. "This is crazy," Marcus muttered, but he took the leash and clipped it to Rex's collar. "Should we wake Aiden?" Elena asked, glancing upstairs. Marcus shook his head. "Let him sleep. We won't go far." Armed with a flashlight and Marcus's baseball bat, they stepped onto the front porch. The night was quiet, the streetlights casting pools of yellow light at regular intervals. Rex immediately tugged on the leash, pulling Marcus toward the street. "He wants to go somewhere specific," Marcus whispered as they followed the dog's lead. Elena stayed close to her husband, eyes scanning the darkness for any sign of movement. "Do you think this is about the person who was watching our house?" "Maybe," Marcus replied, his voice tight with tension. "Or maybe he just needs to use the bathroom." But it quickly became clear that Rex had a destination in mind. He led them down the street with purpose, never hesitating at intersections, always pulling in a straight line. After about 10 minutes of walking, Elena realized where they were headed. "Marcus," she said quietly, "we're going toward Henry Walker's house." Marcus slowed his pace, looking around with increased caution. "Are you sure?" "Positive. It's just past that bend in the road." They rounded the corner, and there it was, a small white house set back from the street, partially hidden by overgrown shrubs and trees. The property had a neglected air about it, with untrimmed grass and shutters hanging askew. Rex stopped at the edge of the property, his body tense, ears forward. "What now?" Marcus whispered. "We can't just break in." Rex whined softly, looking from them to the house and back again. There was such obvious urgency in his demeanor that Elena found herself moving forward despite her misgivings. "Elena," Marcus hissed, grabbing her arm. "What are you doing?" "We need to see what he's trying to show us," she said, surprising herself with her certainty. "Rex risked his life to reach us. It has to be important." Before Marcus could argue further, a beam of light swept across the front yard of Henry's house. Rex immediately ducked low, pulling them behind a large oak tree. A figure emerged from the side of the house, tall, thin, moving with furtive purpose. The beam from his flashlight danced erratically as he scanned the yard, eventually settling on the front door, which stood slightly ajar. "Someone broke in," Marcus whispered. Elena strained to see the figure's face, but it was hidden in shadow. The intruder looked around once more before slipping inside the house, closing the door behind him. Rex growled, the sound vibrating through his entire body. "We need to call the police," Marcus said, reaching for his phone. But Rex had other ideas. With a sudden lunge, he pulled free from Marcus's grip and raced toward the house, disappearing into the shadows. "Rex!" Elena called in a harsh whisper. "Come back!" Marcus grabbed her hand. "Stay here. I'm going after him." "No!" Elena clutched his arm. "It's too dangerous. We don't know who that person is or if they're armed." The sound of breaking glass came from inside the house, followed by a shout and a dog's fierce bark. Rex had found the intruder. "That settles it," Marcus said, handing Elena his phone. "Call 911. I'm getting Rex." Before she could stop him, Marcus was sprinting across the yard toward the house. Elena dialed with shaking fingers, reporting a break-in at Henry Walker's address, her eyes never leaving the darkened house where her husband had disappeared. More sounds came from inside. A crash, another shout, something heavy falling over. Then silence. Elena's heart pounded in her ears as she waited, counting the seconds. 1 minute passed. 2. The dispatcher assured her police were on the way, but it felt like an eternity. Just as she was about to rush to the house herself, the front door burst open. Marcus emerged, Rex at his side. They were both running full tilt across the yard. "Go! Go!" Marcus shouted, grabbing Elena's arm as he reached her. "Run!" They sprinted back the way they had come, Rex racing ahead of them. Elena could hear footsteps behind them, heavy, angry, gaining ground. "Who is it?" she gasped, running faster than she thought possible. "Don't know," Marcus panted. "Big guy. He had a knife." A knife, just like the weapon that had wounded Rex. They reached their street just as the wail of police sirens filled the air. The footsteps behind them faltered, then receded. Their pursuer had given up. Back at home, they locked the doors and windows, then collapsed on the living room sofa, breathing hard. Rex paced the room, still agitated, his mission clearly unfinished. "What happened in there?" Elena asked when Marcus had caught his breath. "I found Rex in what must have been Henry's bedroom," Marcus explained. "He was digging at the floorboards near the bed. The intruder, big guy, dark clothes, was trying to grab him. When he saw me, he pulled a knife." Elena gasped. "Did he hurt you?" Marcus shook his head. Rex went for his arm, gave me enough time to grab a lamp and throw it at him. Then we ran. "Do you think it was Victor Walker?" Elena asked, remembering Doctor Roberts' information about Henry's nephew. "Could be," Marcus agreed. "Whoever it was, he was looking for something specific, and I think Rex knows what it is." They both looked at the German shepherd, who had finally stopped pacing and now sat before them, his intelligent eyes moving from one to the other as if following their conversation. "Rex," Elena said softly, "what was under those floorboards?" The dog's ears perked forward at her question. He walked to the front window and looked out, his posture alert and watchful. "Tomorrow," Marcus said, placing a hand on Elena's shoulder. "We'll figure this out tomorrow. Right now, we need to check on Aiden and get some rest." They found Aiden still fast asleep on Rex's bed, blissfully unaware of the night's events. After watching him for a moment, they retreated to their own room, though Elena doubted either of them would sleep much. She was right. Dawn found them, bleary-eyed but determined, sitting at the kitchen table with mugs of strong coffee. "I called Officer Taylor," Marcus said. "Told him what happened. They didn't catch the intruder last night, but they found evidence he'd been digging in several places around the house. Looking for the same thing Rex was trying to show you," Elena mused. "Exactly," Marcus agreed. "And get this, Taylor confirmed the owner was Henry Walker, and his nephew Victor has been trying to contest the will. Apparently Henry left everything to a veterans charity, and Victor is furious." "So, it was Victor at the house last night," Elena said. Marcus nodded. "Probably. Taylor's going to try to bring him in for questioning. In the meantime, he suggested we keep Rex here where he's safe." As if summoned by his name, Rex padded into the kitchen, Aiden following close behind, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Morning," Aiden mumbled, climbing onto a chair at the table. Elena pushed a glass of orange juice toward him. "Did you sleep well, sweetie?" Aiden nodded, then looked at Rex with a knowing expression. Rex went back to the sad man's house last night. Elena and Marcus exchanged startled glances. "How did you know that?" Marcus asked carefully. Aiden shrugged, taking a sip of his juice. "He showed me in my dream. He was trying to find the sad man's special box, but The bad man was there too. Special box? Elena repeated, her skin prickling. The sad man's treasure, Aiden explained. It's under the floor in his bedroom. Rex tried to get it before, but the bad man hurt him with the knife. The detail was too specific to be coincidence. Whatever connection existed between Aiden and Rex, it went beyond normal child-pet bonding. Marcus leaned forward. Aiden, did Rex show you what's in the box? Aiden shook his head. Number. But it's important. The sad man wanted Rex to protect it. Before they could question him further, the doorbell rang. Marcus went to answer it while Elena stayed with Aiden and Rex. He returned with Officer Taylor and a woman Elena didn't recognize, middle-aged with kind eyes and a serious expression. Mrs. Turner, Officer Taylor said. This is Sandra Webb from Veterans Support Network. She's the executor of Henry Walker's estate. Sandra stepped forward, offering her hand. I understand you've been caring for Rex. We've been looking for him since Henry passed. Elena shook the woman's hand, a strange reluctance coming over her. We found him injured on our doorstep during the storm last week. He's been recovering here. Sandra nodded, her eyes moving to Rex, who stood protectively beside Aiden. He looks well. You've taken good care of him. You said you've been looking for him? Marcus asked. Yes, Sandra confirmed. After Henry died, Rex disappeared from the property. We assumed he'd run away, but we've been checking shelters and putting up posters. He's a very special dog with a unique history. We know he was trained as a service dog for veterans with PTSD, Elena said. Sandra smiled. More than that, Rex was part of a specialized program that trained dogs not just to support veterans emotionally, but to safeguard important information. Henry was involved in classified operations during Vietnam. He suffered from severe PTSD, but he also possessed information that needed protection. What kind of information? Marcus asked, frowning. I'm not at liberty to discuss specifics, Sandra replied. But Rex was trained to respond to certain triggers, to protect documents or items that Henry deemed important. Elena thought of Rex digging at the floorboards in Henry's bedroom. And these items might be hidden at Henry's house? Under the floorboards, perhaps? Sandra's expression sharpened with interest. You know something. Before Elena could respond, Officer Taylor's radio crackled to life. He stepped away to answer it, his expression growing serious as he listened. That was the station, he said when he returned. Victor Walker was just brought in for questioning. Neighbors reported seeing him near his uncle's property last night, and we found a knife matching the description of the one used in the attack on the dog. So it was Victor who hurt Rex, Elena said, feeling a mixture of relief and anger. Sandra nodded grimly. Victor never accepted that Henry left everything to the charity. He was convinced his uncle had hidden valuables somewhere in the house. And now he thinks Rex knows where they are, Marcus concluded. Which he does, Aiden piped up, drawing everyone's attention. Rex was protecting the sad man's special box. Sandra knelt to Aiden's level, her expression gentle but curious. What special box, honey? Aiden looked at Rex, who met his gaze steadily. The one under the floor. The sad man put his secrets in it. Officer Taylor looked skeptical, but Sandra's eyes widened. Henry did mention something about keeping important papers secure, she said slowly. But he never told me where they were. Rex tried to show us last night, Marcus explained. He led us to Henry's house, but Victor was there. Sandra stood, her decision made. We need to get to that house before Victor's released. If there are important documents hidden there, they need to be secured properly. An hour later, they all stood in Henry Walker's bedroom. Elena, Marcus, Aiden, Officer Taylor, Sandra, and Rex. The room was sparse and military neat, despite the layer of dust that had settled over everything in the months since Henry's death. A single bed, a dresser, and a nightstand with a reading lamp were the only furniture. Rex walked directly to a spot near the head of the bed and began scratching at the floorboards, whining softly. There, Aiden said confidently. The special box is there. Officer Taylor knelt beside Rex, examining the floor. These boards look newer than the others, he observed, running his fingers along the edges. They've been replaced recently. With a pocket knife, he carefully pried up one of the boards. Beneath it was a small metal strongbox, its surface unmarked except for a single keyhole. I don't suppose anyone has the key, Marcus asked, looking around the room. Sandra pulled a ring of keys from her pocket. Henry left these with his will. I assumed they were for the house and his safety deposit box, but there's one I couldn't identify. The key fit perfectly. Inside the box was a sealed manila envelope, a small leather-bound journal, and a faded photograph of a much younger Henry in military uniform, standing beside a group of other soldiers. Sandra carefully took out the envelope, her expression solemn. These appear to be the documents Henry mentioned. They need to be delivered to the proper authorities. She looked at Officer Taylor. Can you arrange a secure transport? The officer nodded, already on his radio requesting assistance. Elena knelt beside Rex, wrapping her arms around his neck. Good boy, she whispered. You did it. You protected Henry's secret, just like he trained you to. Rex licked her cheek once, then moved to Aiden, who threw his arms around the dog with absolute trust and affection. Is Rex coming home with us now? Aiden asked, looking up at Sandra with worried eyes. Sandra hesitated, looking from the boy to the dog and back again. It was clear that the bond between them was extraordinary. Rex was technically left to our organization in Henry's will, she said slowly. But part of our mission is placing service dogs with those who need them most. Aiden doesn't have PTSD, Marcus pointed out gently. No, Sandra agreed, but Rex has clearly chosen him, and in my experience, these dogs know exactly where they need to be. Elena felt hope rising in her chest. Are you saying... Sandra smiled. I'm saying I need to make some calls, but I don't see why Rex couldn't continue staying with you. Permanently. Aiden's face lit up with joy. He buried his face in Rex's fur, whispering something only the dog could hear. As they prepared to leave Henry's house, Sandra pulled Elena aside. There's something you should know about Rex, she said quietly. These specialized service dogs, they form unique bonds with their handlers. They can sense things most humans can't. Like danger? Elena asked, thinking of how Rex had alerted them to the figure in their yard. Yes, but more than that, Sandra explained. They can sense emotions, intentions. Some handlers swear their dogs can read their thoughts, predict their nightmares before they happen. Elena thought of Aiden's insistence that Rex told him things in dreams. Is that possible? Sandra smiled. I've learned not to dismiss anything when it comes to these dogs. The connection between them and their handlers goes beyond what science can explain. As they walked home, Rex trotting happily beside Aiden, the threat from Victor neutralized, the mystery of Henry's secret documents solved. Elena felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Whatever strange connection existed between her son and this remarkable dog, it had brought them together for a reason. Rex had come to them injured and desperate, carrying secrets and responsibilities too heavy for one loyal heart to bear alone. And somehow, against all odds, he had found exactly the family he needed, a family that needed him just as much. That night, as Elena tucked Aiden into bed, Rex already settled in his usual spot on the floor, she asked her son, "How did you know Rex was special, right from the start?" Aiden yawned, his eyelids growing heavy. "I just knew, Mom. He wasn't just any dog. He was our dog. He was always supposed to be our dog." Elena kissed his forehead, then reached down to stroke Rex's head. The German shepherd looked up at her with those intelligent, knowing eyes, and she knew with absolute certainty that Aiden was right. Some connections defy explanation. Some souls recognize each other instantly. And sometimes a wounded guardian angel arrives exactly when you need him most, even if he comes in the form of a German shepherd collapsing on your doorstep during a storm. The weeks that followed were filled with paperwork and interviews as the details of Victor Walker's crimes came to light. He had been systematically searching his uncle's house for valuables, convinced that Henry had hidden money or jewels somewhere on the property. The manila envelope from the strongbox had contained classified military documents that Henry had been entrusted with, information about covert operations during the Vietnam War that could still be sensitive even decades later. Victor was charged with breaking and entering, animal cruelty for his attack on Rex, and attempted theft of government property. The evidence was overwhelming, and he quickly accepted a plea deal that would keep him in prison for several years. Sandra Webb had been true to her word. After consulting with the board of the Veterans Support Network, she arranged for Rex to be permanently placed with the Turner family. There was paperwork to sign, a home visit to complete, and a modest adoption fee. But by the end of the month, Rex was officially theirs. Life settled into a new normal. Rex accompanied Aiden to school, drop-offs, and pickups, waited patiently outside grocery stores while Elena shopped, and joined Marcus for evening jogs around the neighborhood. He became a beloved fixture in their lives, his loyalty and intelligence a constant source of comfort and amazement. But there was one thing that never changed: the special bond between Rex and Aiden. It remained as strong and mysterious as ever, defying conventional explanation. Sometimes Elena would find them sitting together in complete silence, looking into each other's eyes as if carrying on a conversation only they could hear. "It's like they have their own language," she remarked to Marcus one evening as they watched Aiden and Rex playing in the backyard. Marcus nodded, smiling at the sight of his son's unbridled joy. "Whatever it is, it's been good for Aiden. I've never seen him this confident, this happy." It was true. Their once quiet son had blossomed in Rex's presence, showing a self-assurance and emotional maturity that surprised his teachers and delighted his parents. Summer turned to fall, and with the changing leaves came an unexpected invitation from Sandra Webb. The Veterans Support Network was hosting a memorial service for Henry Walker and other veterans who had passed away during the year. They wanted Rex to attend as a special guest of honor. He was Henry's closest companion for years, Sandra explained over the phone. It would mean a lot to Henry's old friends to see Rex there. Elena agreed immediately, touched by the gesture. The memorial was scheduled for a crisp Saturday in October, exactly 3 months after Rex had first appeared on their doorstep. The morning of the service, Elena helped Aiden dress in his best clothes, a small blue suit that he usually complained about wearing, but today donned without protest. "Rex needs me to be there," he explained when Elena commented on his cooperation. "He's sad about the sad man." Rex did seem subdued that morning, his usual energy tempered by a strange solemnity, as if he understood the significance of the day. The memorial service was held in a small chapel on the grounds of a veterans' cemetery. Rows of white headstones stretched across the gently rolling hills, American flags fluttering in the autumn breeze. Inside, the chapel was filled with people, mostly older men and women, many in military uniforms or wearing veterans' caps. As they entered with Rex, a hush fell over the crowd. Then, slowly, one by one, the veterans stood, not to greet Elena, Marcus, or Aiden, but to honor Rex. They stood at attention, these old soldiers, offering a silent salute to the dog who had served one of their own so faithfully. Elena felt tears pricking at her eyes. Beside her, Aiden squeezed her hand and whispered, "Rex says it's okay to cry, Mom. The sad man would understand." The service was simple but moving. Veterans shared stories of Henry, his bravery in combat, his struggles after returning home, his quiet generosity to fellow veterans in need. Sandra spoke about his work with the support network, helping to develop training programs for service dogs like Rex. "Henry once told me that Rex saved his life," she said, her voice catching slightly. "Not in the dramatic way we see in movies, but day by day, night by night. Rex kept the darkness at bay, gave him purpose when hope seemed lost, and showed him that he was still capable of connection and love." As she spoke, Rex sat perfectly still beside Aiden, his posture proud and attentive. But Elena noticed something strange: tears. Actual tears glistening in the dog's eyes, running silently down his muzzle. She had heard that dogs could cry from eye infections or allergies, but never from emotion. Yet there was no mistaking the grief in Rex's expression, the understanding in his eyes. He was mourning his old friend, paying his respects in the only way he could. After the formal service, they moved to a small reception area where photos of Henry had been arranged on display boards. One in particular caught Elena's eye. Henry sitting on his front porch, much younger than she had ever seen him, with a small German shepherd puppy in his lap. "That was Rex's predecessor," said an elderly man who had noticed her interest. "Scout, Henry's first service dog. Rex came later, after Scout passed. But Henry always said they had the same spirit." Elena studied the photo more closely. The resemblance between the puppy in the picture and Rex was striking. The same intelligent eyes, the same distinctive markings. "They were from the same specialized breeding program," the man explained. "Dogs with exceptional empathic abilities. The trainers call them soul dogs because of their unusual capacity to bond with their handlers." He smiled down at Rex. Henry believed they carried something special inside them, something that went beyond training. After the reception, they took Rex to see Henry's grave. It was a simple headstone, newly installed, with his name, rank, and dates of service. Below that was a single line, "Never alone in the darkest night." Rex approached the grave slowly, his head lowered. He sniffed the freshly turned earth, then sat beside the headstone, looking out over the cemetery with watchful eyes, the same posture Elena had seen when he kept guard over Aiden at night. "He's saying goodbye," Aiden said softly, standing beside the dog. They gave Rex all the time he needed. Eventually he stood, shook himself, and walked back to them, pressing against Aiden's side. Whatever farewell he had needed to make was complete. That evening, as they drove home, Rex rested his head on Aiden's lap in the back seat, his eyes growing heavy. By the time they reached their house, he seemed exhausted, more tired than Elena had seen him since those first days of his recovery. "He needs to rest," Aiden said, helping Rex to his bed in the corner of the living room. "He did an important job today." Rex settled onto his bed with a deep sigh, his eyes already closing. Aiden sat beside him, stroking his head and whispering things Elena couldn't hear. Later that night, after Aiden had gone to bed, Elena checked on Rex. The dog was sleeping deeply, his breath coming in slow, labored pants. Concerned, she knelt beside him, feeling his head. It was warm, too warm. "Marcus," she called softly, "I think Rex is sick." Marcus examined the dog with gentle hands, checking his pulse, looking at his gums. "His heartbeat is irregular," he said, worry creasing his brow. "We should call Dr. Roberts." The veterinarian arrived 30 minutes later, medical bag in hand. After a thorough examination, her expression grew grave. "It's his heart," she said. "It's failing. Has he seemed tired lately? Less energetic?" Elena thought about it. Rex had been quieter in recent days, sleeping more, sometimes stopping to rest during their walks. She had attributed it to age. They didn't know exactly how old he was, but now those signs took on a more ominous meaning. "Can you help him?" Marcus asked. Dr. Roberts sighed. "I can give him medication to make him comfortable, but this is advanced heart failure. These service dogs, especially from the older programs, were bred for intelligence and empathy, not longevity. Many of them develop heart problems as they age." "How long does he have?" Elena whispered. "It's hard to say. Days maybe, possibly just hours." Dr. Roberts administered an injection to ease Rex's discomfort. "The most important thing now is to keep him comfortable and surrounded by those he loves." They took turns sitting with Rex through the night. His breathing became more labored, his once alert eyes growing cloudy with pain, despite the medication. Around dawn, Elena gently woke Aiden. "Sweetie," she said, her voice breaking. "Rex is very sick. I think he might be saying goodbye soon." Aiden didn't cry, didn't protest. He simply nodded, as if he had already known, and followed her downstairs. Rex lifted his head slightly when Aiden entered the room, his tail giving a single feeble thump against the bed. "It's okay, Rex," Aiden said, settling beside the dog and placing a small hand on his head. "You don't have to fight anymore. The sad man is waiting for you." Elena and Marcus exchanged tearful glances, amazed at their son's maturity in the face of such sorrow. They sat together, the four of them, as the morning light slowly filled the room. Rex's breathing grew more shallow, each breath a visible effort, but his eyes remained fixed on Aiden, filled with the same intelligence and devotion they had shown from the first moment on their doorstep. "He was never lost," Aiden said suddenly, his voice clear in the quiet room. "He came to find us. The sad man sent him to us." "What do you mean, sweetie?" Elena asked, wiping tears from her cheeks. "After the sad man died, Rex stayed at his house because he was waiting," Aiden explained. "But then the bad man came, and Rex got hurt." He stroked the dog's head gently. "So the sad man told Rex to find us instead, to protect us, and to teach me how to be brave." It was the kind of fantastical explanation a child might create to make sense of loss. Yet there was something in Aiden's certainty that gave Elena pause. The way Rex had appeared specifically at their door, the immediate bond with Aiden, the dog's seemingly supernatural awareness of danger, all of it felt connected, purposeful. As the sun climbed higher, Rex's eyes began to close. His breathing grew fainter, each inhale a little shorter than the last. Aiden leaned down, pressing his forehead against Rex's, whispering words only the dog could hear. Then, With one final soft exhale, Rex was gone. His body relaxed, the struggle over at last. "Good boy, Rex," Aiden whispered, tears finally spilling down his cheeks. Good boy. They buried Rex in the backyard later that day, beneath the oak tree where he had loved to lie in the shade. Aiden placed Henry's photo, which Sandra had given them after the memorial, in the small grave, saying Rex would want to have it with him. "He's with the sad man now," Aiden said as Marcus filled in the grave. "They're both happy." The weeks that followed were quiet, the house feeling emptier without Rex's presence. Aiden retreated into himself again, his newfound confidence dimming in the face of his grief. Elena and Marcus worried about him, unsure how to help him process such a profound loss. Then, on a crisp morning in November, Marcus spotted a flyer on a community bulletin board outside the grocery store. The local animal shelter was hosting an adoption event for rescued dogs, including several German Shepherd puppies found abandoned near the highway. "Do you think it's too soon?" he asked Elena that evening, showing her the flyer. Elena hesitated. "I don't know. Aiden was so close to Rex. A new dog might feel like we're trying to replace him." But when they carefully broached the subject with Aiden, his reaction surprised them. He didn't reject the idea outright as they had feared. Instead, he seemed thoughtful, considering. "Can we just go look?" he asked finally. "Rex might want us to help another dog who needs a family." The shelter was crowded with potential adopters when they arrived the following Saturday. They made their way through the rows of kennels, meeting dogs of all shapes and sizes. Aiden was polite but reserved, showing none of the immediate connection he had formed with Rex. Just as they were about to leave, a shelter volunteer approached them. "We have one more little guy in the back," she said. "He's been pretty withdrawn since we found him, won't really interact with anyone. Would you like to meet him?" In a small, quiet room away from the main kennel area, they found a German Shepherd puppy, no more than 3 months old, with oversized paws and ears that hadn't quite learned to stand upright. He sat in the corner of the room, watching them warily. "He was the runt of the litter," the volunteer explained. "The others have all been adopted, but he's been holding back, like he's waiting for something specific." Aiden approached the puppy slowly, kneeling a few feet away. He didn't reach out or call to the dog. He simply sat there, patient and still, waiting. For a long moment, nothing happened. The puppy remained in his corner, observing. Then, gradually, he stood and took a tentative step forward, another, until he stood directly in front of Aiden. The puppy looked up, meeting Aiden's eyes. Something passed between them, that same inexplicable recognition Elena had witnessed when Rex first lay on their doorstep. "His name is Hero," Aiden said with absolute certainty. "Actually, we've been calling him Max," the volunteer started to explain, but stopped when she saw the look on Aiden's face. "No," Aiden said gently but firmly. "His name is Hero." The puppy's tail began to wag, slowly at first, then with increasing enthusiasm. He pressed his small body against Aiden's knees, looking up at him with complete trust. "Well," the volunteer said, smiling, "Hero it is then." That night, as Elena tucked Aiden into bed, Hero curled up in a small bed beside him. The puppy was already showing the same protective instincts Rex had displayed, refusing to leave Aiden's side for even a moment. "Do you think Hero will have dreams about Rex?" Aiden asked sleepily. Elena smoothed his hair back from his forehead. "What do you mean, sweetie?" "Rex used to dream about Scout, the sad man's first dog," Aiden explained. "That's how Rex knew what to do. Scout showed him in his dreams." Elena didn't know how to respond to such a fanciful idea. Yet after everything they had experienced with Rex, she couldn't dismiss it entirely either. "Maybe," she said softly. "Some connections are special that way." Aiden nodded, satisfied with her answer. "Rex isn't really gone, Mom," he murmured as his eyes drifted closed. "He's just helping Hero now, teaching him how to protect us." As if in response, Hero lifted his head, his gaze moving to the window where the first stars of evening were appearing. His small ears perked forward, listening to something only he could hear. Outside, the wind rustled through the oak tree above Rex's grave, the sound almost like a bark, faint but distinct in the quiet night. Elena stood by the window, looking out at the tree and the small mound of earth beneath it. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." And somewhere in the distance, she swore she heard an answering bark, a guardian's promise that some protectors never truly leave. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from.